So today I'm going to talk about Milo's birth. So it's been about 6.5 months now, and we have been meaning to get up a birth vlog for a really long time. At about 3 months postpartum, we actually sat down and filmed us talking about the birth and the experience and everything that happened. And then we have a lot of live footage from before and after the birth, and my husband is going to put together a video. But I just don't know when that's going to be. He's really busy with work right now, and it's still just very emotional to go through the footage that we have. You know, we have footage of Milo coming out, being blue, not breathing, of him getting taken away from me, and it's still just really hard to look at some of that footage. But we do want to make a video and that has some live footage and really tells the story really well. But in the meantime, I thought, you know what, why don't I just go ahead and at least tell all of you exactly what happened, because I know I've mentioned a few things and I've talked briefly about it, but I've never gotten into the details. And as time goes on, I'm starting to forget things, and so I just decided to sit down and kind of tell you guys the story. And hopefully by Milo's first birthday, we'll have an actual real birth vlog out with like the live footage and stuff. Just thinking about it is a little emotional. So let's see if I can get through this video without crying. Sometimes I think I'm over everything, and then all of a sudden it'll kind of hit me and I'll get really emotional and sad about it. So if any of you have been following along on my journey, you'll know that it took my husband and I quite a while to conceive. My husband went through a vasectomy reversal, and then we went through 19 months of trying with 2 IUIs. Finally, on the second try of our IUI, we got pregnant with our baby. Found out we were pregnant. I had a pretty rough pregnancy. I was nauseous, sick, throwing up till about 20 weeks pregnant. Then around 33 weeks pregnant, I started to get some swelling, and I had a couple like little blood pressure things where our blood pressure got high, but then it would stabilize. It never got to the point where my midwives thought it was anything of too much of a concern. So when we got pregnant, we did decide to kind of take a natural approach with pregnancy and childbirth, and we hired a midwife group. I went to a birthing center and had all of my checks at the midwife group. We weren't going to be having the baby at a hospital at all. This midwife group was a group of 2 midwives and 2 assistants at a birthing center, like a standalone birthing center. It wasn't part of a hospital, although it was down the road from a hospital, so if there was an emergency, we'd be close by. It just had always been my dream to have like a natural birth. I considered home birth as well, but because we're about 15 minutes from a hospital, I decided not to do a home birth. I decided to do the birthing center. Well, little did I know, my plan would not be, little did I know things would not be going according to my plan. So at 39 weeks and 2 days pregnant, I was so swollen, like I just can't even believe how swollen I got. It's just insane. And I was not feeling good. It was my last day of work, and I decided to go ahead and check my blood pressure. So I had an at-home monitor that I had purchased when I had that little spike in blood pressure around 33, 34 weeks. So I had purchased one then, and I had monitored it for a while. Then I had stopped monitoring it because everything was fine for several weeks. But I just was not feeling right. I was so swollen. I felt like my skin was just going to burst. And I had not been feeling very well for about 2 days. So I took my blood pressure, and it was 160 over 110, which is pretty high. My normal blood pressure is around 110 over 70. And really your blood pressure is supposed to stay under 120 over 80. So, and my midwife said anything over 140 over 90 is when you should be pretty concerned. And it was 160 over 110. So it was pretty high, and it was scary. I called my midwife. She said, go to the hospital, get checked. They're probably gonna, take some blood, take some urine, check you out and see what's going on. If you have preeclampsia or something like that, they'll probably admit you. So, go prepared, bring your bags. And I was just thinking, what the heck? I haven't been to the hospital. I don't have a doctor. Like, this is kind of crazy. This is not in my birthing plan. Why is this happening? And even like going there, I was like, I don't have preeclampsia. I'm young. I'm healthy. You know, I ate really healthy. I don't have preeclampsia. Like, that's just ridiculous. I must just have some high blood pressure, and maybe they'll, you know, I don't know, maybe, hopefully just relaxing will make it go down. But the midwife did say, you know, with blood pressure this high, even if they get it under control, you are now considered high risk and you won't be able to deliver at the birthing center no matter what. So even if you don't have the baby today and they let you go back home, when you do go into labor, you'll have to have the baby at a hospital. So that was kind of a big pill to swallow, but kind of in that moment, all I could think about was, you know, I just want to make sure my baby's okay. So I didn't really have too many thoughts about my birthing plan until later, actually several weeks, even months later. So I got there and my blood pressure wasn't going down. They did a blood panel. They did a urine sample. There was protein in my urine. My kidney function was off. I did not feel well. My blood pressure wouldn't go down. Even with medication, it still wasn't going down. So they said, okay, we're admitting you. You're going to have a baby. They said, you know, they're going to do a very slow induction. It's probably going to be like a day. So I was like, okay, you know. And I'm thinking in my mind, well, maybe it'll be later tonight. This is a Tuesday night around 5 o'clock. And so they check me into the hospital. They get me set up in my room, and they start out with something called Cervidil, Cytotec. I can't remember. It was a pill. See, this is why I should have filmed this. I just don't remember. I think it was Cytotec, or I'm not 100% positive. Basically, it was a pill, not a pill, a capsule that they insert next to your cervix to help soften it. My cervix was rock hard and closed. This baby was not ready to come out, that's for sure. So they put it up there. They waited 6 hours. It didn't do anything. So then they put another one in. And then about two or 3 hours later, my water broke. And so then since my water broke, even though I still wasn't dilated at all, they did decide to go ahead and start me on Pitocin. They started me on a level 2 of Pitocin. And that was around, oh gosh, when did my water break? My water broke around 2 a.m. and they started the Pitocin around 5 a.m. My mom flew in. She got there around 8 in the morning, 8 or 9 in the morning. We're thinking we're going to have a baby by end of day. This is Wednesday. But I just progressed so slow. I mean, it was like 12 hours into it, and I had back labor. It was terrible back labor. I was in labor for about 12 hours. I was having contractions. They kept upping the Pitocin. I dilated to a 1. Finally, they checked me again after 12 hours, and she like stretched me to a 2. So I'm only at a 2, 12 hours in. And in so much pain. At this point, my birth plan's out the window. I'm bedridden. I can't get up because of my blood pressure. I have a catheter in. I have a blood pressure monitor going off every 15 minutes. I have a heart rate monitor on me. I have a heart rate monitor on the baby. And, you know, I'm in bed. It's like there's nothing I can do to relieve the pain naturally. I can't get in the tub. I can't bounce on a ball. I can't walk around. I'm like, well, I'm getting the epidural at this point. You know, I can't just be in pain for who knows how long without any way to relieve this pain. So I was asking for the epidural for actually a few hours. And I kept saying, you know, let's hold off. You're not progressing. You're progressing very slowly. We're afraid if we give you the epidural too soon, it's going to stall labor even more. So finally, after 12 hours of intense back labor, they gave me an epidural. And at this point, I was just completely out of it, seriously out of it. Oh, and I was on magnesium. We'll talk about that in a second. So they gave me the epidural. It definitely provided some relief. So magnesium sulfate, this lovely little drip that they put you on when you have preeclampsia, it helps prevent seizures. It's kind of like a muscle relaxant. Well, it works against the Pitocin because it actually is something they also give women to help stall labor and stop labor. So the Pitocin and the magnesium are fighting against each other, but it was a necessary thing to keep me from not having a seizure, which obviously could be deadly for me and the baby. But it basically gives you flu-like symptoms. I was having hot flashes. One minute I would be hot, next minute I'd be freezing. I was itchy, I was uncomfortable, and it completely makes you feel like a zombie. I felt like I was up for a really long time. I didn't sleep at all through my entire labor for more than maybe 20, 30 minutes at a time. And it really just, I felt so out of it. It's just the most terrible feeling ever. Okay, this video is already long. This is going to be a long video, guys. I think I'm going to have to do this in 2 parts because this is going to be a long video. I can already tell you that right now. I'm 11 minutes in and I've hardly even touched anything. Okay, back to it. So let's speed things up here a little bit. So I'm in labor. They do like a balloon catheter thing, or what do they call it? Like a Foley bulb or something. Oh, I wish I could remember the name. Some kind of bulb where they put it into your cervix and they blow it up, and it's supposed to help dilate you. Well, that didn't work. So they tried that. That didn't work. They put the peanut ball in between my legs. So during this whole thing, the baby's heart kept doing weird things. Like it would just like, not flatline, like stop, but like it would stay like at 140, just constant 140. And they said a healthy heartbeat has accelerations. Like if you move or if you have a contraction, it'll kind of go up and down. So they want to see accelerations. And it just was staying like super flat. The baby wasn't moving a lot. And so they kept having to come in and turn me on one, they kept turning me back and forth, putting me in different positions to try to get the baby's heart rate up. So that was scary. They kept having to do that. Finally, they put in an internal heart rate monitor and an internal contraction monitor, because the ones on my stomach kept moving around and they weren't sure if it was like catching them right. So I had the catheter in me, internal heart rate, and internal contractions. So I had 3 things stuck up inside of me. I had the magnesium, the saline drip, the Pitocin, the epidural, the blood pressure cuff, and the heart rate monitor on me. So here I am with, what was that, 6 different things? I lost track. Let's see. 1, 2, 3 things inside of me: Pitocin, saline, magnesium, epidural, blood pressure, and heart rate. So that's 9 things. I had 9 things hooked on me in various places of my body. Yeah, that was intense. And just so you know, my catheter bag was filling up like crazy because I had retained so much water that I think some of it was finally coming out, and they kept having to dump that. Like, they were like, oh my gosh, we've never seen like anyone pee so much. Okay, so that was scary with the baby's heart rate. We're getting closer and closer into this. Finally, Thursday morning, 5 a.m., I'm 36 hours into this thing, and I'm dilated to a 10. Thank God I'm dilated to a 10. We're thinking we're going to have this baby in the next few hours. They had me labor down for a while, and then I pushed for about an hour, and that did nothing. So they had me labor down again, which is basically just kind of letting the contractions come and having the baby kind of move down on his own. So after doing that, a couple hours later had passed, and then around 12:45, I started, about 12:30, 12:45-ish, they had me start pushing again. The baby was born at 5:05. So I had pushed an hour earlier in the day, and then I had pushed again for over 4 hours straight. Like every contraction, I'd push, like 3 times in a row, counting to 10. Oh my gosh, that was the most physically tolling thing I'd ever done in my entire life. Every push, I was like, I can't do this again, I can't do this again. Finally, after a couple hours, I could see the baby's head, and that kind of gave me a little bit of hope. I actually had a mirror for a while that I was watching. I don't know, that was a little bit scary, but seeing his head definitely gave me a little bit of motivation. I just kept thinking, my water's been broken for 39 hours. I've been pushing for 5 hours. am I gonna have a C-section? I mean, this is just getting to the point where I don't want a C-section, but this baby's not coming out. And I said, I can push one more time. We need to get this baby out. So what can we do to get this baby out? And the doctor said, well, I can do a vacuum assisted delivery, or I can give you an episiotomy. And I said, well, I'll take the episiotomy because I feel like the vacuum is, worse for the baby. So the biggest scissors I'd ever seen in my life. I could just I couldn't feel it painfully, but I could just feel it, I could feel her cutting. It didn't hurt, but I could feel her cutting. That was, and on the next push, sure enough, he almost came out. And they said, okay, push one more time. And, and once his head is out, we're going to tell you to stop. And then he'll just kind of slide out. So I pushed, they told me to stop. He came out. I told the doctor, I want to do delayed cord clamping. And she said, okay, that's fine. So the baby came out, they put him on my chest, or kind of more on my belly. And I kind of looked at him, he wasn't moving, he was bluish. And she clamped the cord right away and had my husband cut it. So I knew something was wrong just because we had just talked about doing delayed cord clamping, and then she wanted to cut the cord. So I knew there was something wrong. And that's part 1. So wait for part 2, and you will hear the rest of the story.